let's see. Who are we? My handle in the game is KnightLightnin, and your handle is what again?
WhoFartd.
WhoFartd, with no E, correct?
No E. It's the eternal question.
Oh, there you go. And let's see. Just as a disclaimer for everyone watching, this is not a kid-friendly channel. There's a reason every video is set to mature audience. So there will be cursing. There will be extremely off-color jokes and bad humor. Mike, you have anything you want to say about that?
But all in the sense of good fun.
Correct. As long as the humor is equally, as long as the humor is as funny as the offense level, you're good. We'll see how we make out.
Sounds good. So why don't we kick it off? What's going to be the topic for today?
Okay, so first of all, I just want to do a quick player update. Last week when I shot this, I think I was player level 34, 35. I was just about to unlock Shan Yun. I now have Shan Yun unlocked, and all my gems went to refreshes for farming him like crazy. So I got him up to 4 stars and got him up to tier 5. So he's actually my first tier 5 character. And because of your recommendation, this ability is what I got up to his max right away. So
no, that can, depending on who you're facing, you can eliminate someone or at least set them up for a second attack kill. So that's the whole thing that I love about that, is it does so much damage, and if you kill the person, you get an additional turn. So kind of it's a win across the board.
Yeah, I was a little conflicted on whether to open in battles with his second ability or his second special, which is the Falcon, I guess, to put the defense down, or to just open with the headbutt. But it seems like opening with the headbutt tends to be the better idea. Because, you know, if you could just eliminate a character right away, you know, it's great.
I just run his headbutt and then immediately followed by Aladdin's, like, the downward slash, and I eliminate their most powerful guy off the board first turn.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
So just to give you an update of where I am, I was, I believe, level 36 when we last filmed this, 36, 37. Okay. I just hit level 41. Nice. I am, within a few days, I should have Aladdin 7-starred, Shan Yu 6-starred, and what's his name? The pirate. Jack Sparrow 6-starred also.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I'm currently getting my butt kicked in the Sorcerer's tournament because everybody is like ramping up like crazy. So I'm just looking forward to getting back to top 100, because now you can't even get into 200. Like, just to be top 100, you need at least 2,000 power.
Wow, that's crazy.
And
yeah, I just made rank 45 in Sorcerer's tournament, so I'm doing well. But, you know, I'm only 3 weeks into this game. So I imagine as my grouping gets more seasoned,
yes,
you know, there's a leveling off point where you start to, unless you start extremely being really efficient and or spending, I don't expect necessarily to stay in the top 50 in say 2 weeks.
I will say this. The last week has been day and night. I used to stay in the top 70 without even thinking. Yeah. And now all of a sudden it's gone to like, oh, you'll be lucky to be 112 by the time you're about ready to start doing your attacks.
Right. And the question is, why will we care about Sorcerer's Tournament?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is the drop-off. As long as I finish top, let's call it top 200, I'm still sitting pretty good. So I'm not sweating it. I'm not trying to relive Galaxy of Heroes where it's top 10 or bust.
Yeah.
And thankfully there's not ships in this game, which makes it doubly as time-consuming.
Yes. I think, I'm in this rank 21 to 50 right now. But you know what? If I get knocked back to 51 to 100, I'm only losing 500 of the currency and 10 gems. So
Let's put the real context.
Not a huge deal.
If it takes just short of 9,000 to unlock 5 shards using this currency of Shan Yu, you're talking how many days where it actually makes until it makes one additional purchase? Yeah,
exactly
that different.
And that's the thing. You gotta, in these games, right? Because it's pay to advance or pay to can be pay to win or pay the minimum gain pay to advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a temptation, especially I'll tell you where I get super frustrated. I get frustrated in the PvP arena.
Yes.
I would say, ever since I made it into, what am I in? Silver, right?
Yep.
The Silver 1. Ever since I made it to Silver 1, maybe 2 out of the battles you do for the day to get your 10 to open the pack for free, maybe 2 of those I'll win.
And to be honest, I'm just not enjoying it anymore. So I hit silver, the exact spot you are, and I've kind of not played it. Like every third day, I'll maybe do enough to unlock the 10. But I'm just doing the bare minimum just because it's so painful. Because before the other ones I was in matches where it wouldn't be easy, but it was doable. Right. And if I lost because it was a really good match. And you kind of appreciate those tough matches. But now I either kick their butt or I am so overpowered I'm not going to waste my time. Yeah, perfect example. Look at what you've got here. You're facing a 7-star character.
Oh my God, I didn't even see that. Jesus Christ. Now, who would you take out first in this situation? Shan Yu, just because...
I would take out Shan Yu just because I know I can't take out Ariel first turn. So I'm assuming you will alternate, your Shan Yu and Aladdin will alternate with each other with the opponents. Right. Oh, I didn't see the Mickey. So yeah, okay, there.
Holy
first turn.
Shit. Oh my God.
You just got it. All right, I won't use the turn.
Now, let me just show you a strategy that I've been using in this case. I'm going to go after Jasmine. And the reason I'm going to go after Jasmine is because in my team specifically, let me see, click this damn button. In my team specifically, oh wait, nope. Oh,
good job.
My thing just timed out. All right. Well, I'll just describe what I've been doing.
What your plan was while they beat the crap out of you?
Exactly. I'm still figuring out this new computer application here. But I would go after Jasmine normally first, and the reason is because on my team at the moment, I do not have somebody who can, like an Ariel, who can eliminate a taunter very quickly. So I find that because of I get trapped a lot of times with, that's what I meant to do first turn. I get trapped behind a taunter a lot with this particular team I'm running because I have no one to dispel the taunt. And so I guess because I'm using Duke Kaboom and a few other spells, it's a little more helpful for me to go hit a character who's right next to your potential taunter on the other side, so that when I have, say, Duke Kaboom coming up, he can at least use his adjacent damage to hit that character I was working on in case I can't finish them off right away.
Yeah, no, I see exactly what you mean with it.
Yeah. So
my whole strategy is based off of the assumption right now that if I'm quick enough, I can wipe your best guy off the board and then go a little defensive. So typically what I do is I look for the best guy, as long as I'm not facing a 7-star guy. I go Shan Yu headbutt, Aladdin downward slash, and then I go with Jack Sparrow charming their taunter so they can't get the taunt in next turn. Then I go with a defensive move with Jasmine and putting out Raja, and then I usually use Big Bad Wolf to start the next best attacker going down.
Right.
and then I go.
Let me ask you this: how do you unlock the Bucket of Soldiers spell? Because I have not.
So you can only get it during the Toy Story event. It's not available any other time.
So who should I start farming in order to unlock that spell?
Well, you want to know how I unlocked that spell? It was a really simple thing. It's called I Use Crystals. I joined the game just the Toy Story event had started. Okay. So I had no event and no idea. And then all of a sudden I read somewhere, I think it was on the Discord server, this is broken, this is broken. So I'm like, okay, I've got to get this. So I just, on the last couple hours, I used I think 1,600 crystals to unlock level 1 of that. But that's the only way I'm aware, unless the event comes back. But we did see the Zurg event come back already. So I'm assuming Toy Story, A, because it's got some great characters, and B, more important, who doesn't love Toy Story? It's kind of, no matter what your Disney liking is, Toy Story is great. You either like the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth, doesn't matter. There's something there for you to like. Unlike, let's say, what's coming up soon, Frozen, which, how did you put your feelings on Frozen?
I mean, look, I will say this. I will watch it again, but I was not, again, now speaking as someone born in the early to mid-'80s.
I love that you gave yourself mid.
You and I happened to grow up as young kids in probably this, if there was a golden age of Disney back way back in the 30s through the, say, 50s, the second golden age of Disney was probably when you and I were kids. You had Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast and Lion King all released within, what, a 6-7 year time period?
Okay, and don't forget the other lesser loved Disney classic, The Rocketeer.
There you go. So we had an unusually high standard of what a Disney movie meant. You know, there was a period of time in, say, the 70s where every Disney movie was really lackluster. There was like a good decade or two where Disney had not put out anything that really landed with anyone.
And then came really the 80s where they started to experiment with what is Disney. Heck, they came out with Tron. If there was ever a non-Disney movie that you compare to everything that had come before it, it was Tron.
I mean, look at Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yep.
I mean, people get their throats cut, beheaded. It's really brutal.
But it's funny considering that it was born out of a ride that is like as child-friendly as possible.
Yeah, to a certain the original version of the pirates chasing around scantily clad women around a ransacked burning building.
Well, okay. Also remember that ride changed a lot from when we were young to what it is now. So, like, there's been a couple tiers of innovation. That it was far tamer when it was introduced. Don't quote me. I want to say it was introduced in the 70s. And, like, when we first would have gone to Disney, we would have had that version. Yeah. And then it kind of evolved. And then, obviously, the movies came out and they introduced Jack Sparrow. And it changed everything a lot.
Right. So, I mean, I'm not a huge Frozen fan. I am committed to rewatching the movie because, look, maybe when I saw the movie, how many years ago did Frozen come out? The first one. Do we know?
To be honest, I've never seen Frozen, so I have no idea.
Okay, let's guess and say it was 5 years ago. You and I were 30 years old, no kids. So
still no kids, so that doesn't really change much.
No. So I don't I will give it another shot though. Maybe by the time our next video.
Well, you give it another shot, I will go back and watch retro cartoons of Darkwing Duck and we'll call it even.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of which, they need to introduce the Fearsome Five. Like, imagine they had like Quacker Jack, Liquidator, Negaduck, Negavolt. That would be pretty sick.
What about Paddywhack?
Yeah, actually, I will say this. People are really disappointed. And I haven't played with him yet. I'll probably unlock him later today. I'll get the star count. But people are very disappointed with how bad Darkwing is. And I haven't used his kit, but let's look at his passive. He has, when he recovers from 3 specific status effects, he has a chance to go a little faster and get critical power up.
If there was ever a character that needed a rework, you would think, okay, Darkwing Duck's not going to be just in, let's say, the Disney hierarchy. It's not going to be Mickey. It's not going to be Simba. It's not going to be Aladdin. But you'd think it would just be a tier underneath because cool character, hard to unlock.
Well, when you think of Disney TV shows,
I think Scrooge McDuck.
Just that universe, I would say Darkwing Duck is like one of the highest tiers you can have.
The one character I gotta say with that, I'm really surprised has not been introduced, is Launchpad, considering he crossed over 2 different popular Disney TV shows.
Actually, so this is where let's get into the new speculation, right? So that's what we're going to focus on in today's video, is speculating. Given what we have in the game, given what we don't, who is likely to come to the game. I never thought of Launchpad before, but that's a great idea because that's 2 different shows. That's DuckTales and Darkwing Duck.
Exactly.
You have a representation, so that's a great idea.
And I'm just saying, if we wanted to bring vehicles or ships into this, Launchpad is a pilot.
Oh, I hope they don't do that. That'd be so awful. But listen, Darkwing Duck's kit might be terrible on purpose. Because if you think about the show, Darkwing Duck on his own could never do anything. But Rosalind, his daughter, changed everything. She was why he was able to actually overcome a lot of his battles, and all of his side people are the ones who really helped him solve mysteries and overcome battles. So maybe Darkwing will get Gosling to completely shake up his kit.
That could be a very interesting synergy, that she's kind of a utility that just bolts on to him, and it takes away chance, let's say, and takes away certain situations and just kind of pumps him up. And maybe there's a Disney cartoon team that works hand in hand, that you can throw Huey, Dewey, and Louie, or you can throw Scrooge McDuck, or you can throw. I know that there was a couple cartoons that came after that. Goof Troop. That's what I was trying to remember.
Oh yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll see Max come into this game.
Exactly. Well, we've got Pete, but we've got the old school version of Pete, not the Goof Troop version of Pete.
Well, yes. And, I guess those are the most obvious, right? So we have Sorcerer Mickey. We do not have, in terms of the ultimate icons, we do not have Donald Duck. We don't have
Goofy.
We don't have Goofy. We do not have Minnie Mouse or Daisy. Pluto. So there's definitely room for those super iconic characters that have been around since basically.
Which I would love that they could tie in Kingdom, you need 5 Kingdom characters 7-starred to unlock one of the icons and then build off of that. That, I think, would be a cool way to take those, to get classic Mickey, let's say.
Right.
You need Sorcerer Mickey, Big Bad Wolf, a few of the staples that from the early era. Steamboat Mickey, let's say, instead. And then maybe there's other things. But I think that there's so much potential here. But I still think there's a couple characters that need to be introduced in order to work that. And I think they focus too much on the new. And when I say the new, I mean the mid-90s to current, and less on the earlier 90s and before. Yes, we do have Aladdin, in the sense that we have Aladdin, we have Genie, we have Jasmine, we have Jafar.
And so what we know, what we could basically say pretty for, I would say pretty much a certainty, there are no more Aladdin characters coming to this game. We have Genie.
Hobo Jafar is coming too.
We have Jafar, Jasmine. So that's 4 playable characters and a spell.
Well, Matt, did you forget from last week about Hobo Jafar coming to the game?
Yeah, I did. Well, that's a good point. Hobo Jafar and his entrance and kit reveal last week could definitely make that Aladdin team work even better, potentially. But outside of him, I don't see – I mean, what are you going to do, throw in a boo, I guess, so you can have a 5-person Aladdin team?
Well, he could kind of be that, like, other side of Jasmine that helps make Aladdin even better.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that could work. I don't know. I'm very skeptical any more Aladdin characters coming in. There's 4 playable characters, not counting Hobo Jafar, and a spell. I'll tell you, one thing that could be I mean, we do have Maleficent, right? That's in the game, not in the game. They haven't actually revealed her kit yet, correct?
I'm not aware, but then again, I really haven't looked because I'm so far off.
Yeah, I don't think any actual player has her. And if you click on any of her abilities, it says this character's details will be revealed in a future update. So Maleficent is in this game, and there's another hint here for Sleeping Beauty, which is over here we have this spell. We have the 3 fairies. So there's 2 elements of Sleeping Beauty. So I think it would be cool to have Princess Aurora come into the game. And truth be told, almost every prince in the history of Disney is pretty forgettable except for Prince Philip.
No. Aladdin technically Prince by the end of the movie.
Yeah, okay, but not born Prince, right? So in terms of actually, born nobility Prince, you have, let's just do comparison. Snow White, whose the prince's claim to fame is that he kissed an unconscious woman.
Little sketchy
there, right? Versus Prince Philip, who rides on his horse, has to slash through all this crazy stuff that Maleficent throws at him. He has to slay a dragon. I mean, he's one of the few actual hero princes in Disney, I think.
So I've also got to add in, I have never seen Maleficent, so I'm going to go with whatever story you're telling with this.
Wait, you've never seen Sleeping Beauty?
No, weren't you talking about Maleficent?
Yeah, I'm talking about Maleficent.
Yeah, but isn't there, like, Maleficent movies?
Oh, you mean like Angelina Jolie Maleficent?
Yeah, okay.
That's a good point. I have not seen those.
Okay.
But, I'll put that on my Disney Plus watch list. Check off that box. But
I'm just saying, I think we have potential for videos that are related to this in reaction videos while we watch the Disney Plus movies.
Well, Angelina Jolie Maleficent was a different kind of thing. Let's put it that way. For gentlemen, I think. Angelina Jolie in any role changes the nature of that role pretty significantly.
Yeah, I was going to say, Matt, this is not Gia, so don't get too excited.
Oh, God. Maleficent and the model lesbian.
Is it too late to bring in Angelina Jolie from Hackers?
No, and I think her alternate skin would be wet T-shirt, Angelina Jolie.
The end of the movie?
Yeah, correct.
Just as long as there's not a Johnny Lee Miller in wearing a dress all wet.
And speaking of inappropriate potential additions, is Jessica Rabbit coming to this game? It is a Disney property.
I think it has to be, just because I also want Crazy Christopher Lloyd as a character hand in hand.
Oh, God, yes. What was his name?
It's been so long since I watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Well, I'll tell you this. Eddie Valiant would be so sick in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Bob Hoskins is one of the coolest actors of all time. And that would be a great addition to Disney Sorcerer's Arena.
I think that movie is filled with potential characters. But my only concern is while you and I and our generation loved that movie, it kind of died with the next generation. And it's kind of funny considering that it was so beloved by so many people, yet...
I think part of that is that was really one of the first time, and even by today's standards done well, was having
Judge
real
Doom,
people with cartoons on screen at the same time.
Yes, and by the way, Judge Doom was Christopher Lloyd's character.
Judge Doom, there you go. What do you think about King Arthur? Because we have Madame Mim and Merlin in the game.
So you're talking about the whole Sword in the Stone.
Yes.
That'd be interesting. And plus, you can add, there's so many spells that you can add in, too.
Yeah, and I'm thinking there are a number of Merlin abilities that really call back to his teachings of Merlin in the movie. And I'm wondering if there's an aspect of his kit that could very specifically be used. For example, his Grand Tactics, maybe on a character that has a kit that can really make use of that tactics ability. Maybe that character's just not in the game yet. And maybe King Arthur's the guy to come in. So let me ask you this. What I think would be cool is if you can form a Disney Princesses team, which you probably could with enough characters now, but there's no, if you had an ability that had a Disney Princess specific ability, I think would be really cool. Like if it was a princess tag, for example, and you had a leader that specifically made, Disney princesses like really cool or something. So
I think that you eventually have to lead. You have to lead to there because the fact that Disney has branded their princesses is such a staple in its post-1990s movies, and going hand in hand with Frozen, like that was supposedly one of the ones that was like the Disney Princess Collection, that you eventually have to lead to a full-on princess team that has some cohesion.
Yeah, so as an example, Ariel here has a princess as a tag. So this tag exists in the game.
Exactly.
But outside of Ariel's leadership, which is just a very generic, 8% health buff, there's nothing specifically calling to give princesses a bonus. And as annoying as farming these kinds of things are, I do like when there's specifically tailored factions in the game.
Yes.
And actually, look, this might cause a little controversy, and look, maybe next week we'll find out if I'm dead wrong or right. I do not think farming the Frozen characters is going to help people unlock Elsa.
You want to know what's going to help people to unlock Elsa? There's one thing in the game that will help them. Your credit card. I guarantee you that will enable you to get access to Elsa immediately. 7-star.
7-star Elsa, and all for the cheap price of $499.99.
And maybe if you get some good odds, only $3.99.
Well, let me put it this way, right? So I don't have Zerg, but from what I saw, you need downtown villains to unlock this Toy Story character. So I haven't seen. Now, let me ask you this. Did you need The Incredibles to unlock Dash?
Yes.
Okay.
Only Incredible. So here's the thing that I want to kind of add in as a caveat to what you're saying that leads me to believe the opposite, that you'll need at least some of those, some help from those existing two Frozen characters, is that Toy Story only introduced Buzz, Woody, and
Jesse, right?
Okay, I was gonna go female Woody. I couldn't remember the name.
Okay.
So there's not 5 characters.
Oh, no, wait. There's Bo Peep. She's also a Toy Story character.
Okay, well, either way, at the time, the only 2 characters that were available were Woody and Buzz. And on top of it, they were used to unlock 2 characters, which was Bo Peep and Jesse.
I see.
And a spell. So there wasn't a place for Zurg at that time. And Zurg is too important of an antagonist not to do it. So you either place him with something else, or you create an event around him that's in the future once most people have those 4, let's call it core Toy Story characters. And I think that in the future, they're still the piggy bank. There's still like the T-Rex. There's so many of these characters that are iconic associated with it that you can have additional events. So maybe this was just, hey, we're getting Zurg out there because he's important, but later on, if you want to unlock Zurg more, it's going to require you to farm the T-Rex. So I think it's more of a building process that
I see. So
introduce some, but there'll be more changes in the future.
So is what you're saying, the fact that you already had Buzz and Woody as requirements to unlock different characters, is that's why they didn't have them required to unlock Zurg?
Exactly. So that's why I think the Moose and the random guy from Frozen are going to be important for unlocking 2 more Frozen characters to follow the cadence that exists with the Toy Story setup.
Okay.
But let's also note that they alluded to 6 total Frozen characters being introduced. So I wouldn't be surprised in the least if this event is just part 1, and then we kind of have a Zurg-type part 2, where it's a whole bunch of random characters. Maybe it's downtown villains again. Who knows? They could be like trying to cash in on that theme. And I've started to farm those downtown villains for that exact reason.
I was not farming downtown villains at all. And then when I figured out they're required to get Zurg, and again, I was kind of here or there with Zurg, but fighting Zurg, I'm like, good Lord, kills off 2 of my characters in 1 turn. So
he's got that move, that ricochet move, where it's just like, ping, 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 ping. Oh, you're dead. Bounce off of you and kill somebody else.
Yeah, it's bananas.
This shit is bananas.
Mulan. We have Mulan and Shen Yun. We do not have the dragon yet, so I think that could be a cool thing, or maybe even a spell.
I think he screams spell.
He screams. Yeah, I kind of with you on that. We have Peter Shadow and Tinkerbell and Captain Hook, but no Peter yet.
So maybe it's been so long since I watched this. What's the deal with Peter Shadow being a separate character?
Well, remember in the beginning of the Peter Pan story, the reason he runs into the house of the Darling family is that his shadow escaped and he's chasing it.
Okay.
And then Wendy has to like stitch his shadow on, and it's a whole thing. So it kind of acts like a separate entity from himself.
Okay, that's what I'm forgetting, because it's been so long since I saw those movies.
Yeah. So Peter Pan should come in the game. I think it'd be really cool because Peter Pan kind of teaches people how to fly. If you could, maybe he could pass on flying abilities or something to a number of other characters.
But you made a good point. Where's Wendy?
Yeah, Wendy. And think about this, right? You have Wendy, John Michael. You have the Lost Boys.
I think all of us.
Rufio in this.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, I think all of us who grew up in the '90s want to see Rufio.
Yes, absolutely. And Tiger Lily and the Indians. There's a lot of really great Peter Pan characters not in here yet. So, and that's the thing. I think the developers must be kind of overwhelmed because let's say you had 1,000 people poll and everybody lists their top 50 characters they want in the game. There's going to be a lot of those overlapping, but that could be all over the place. It could be 50 different, you know, it could be.
Here's the thing.
characters.
Like we saw in Star Wars, though, the best characters need time. Like, you need a 5-year plan of release cadences, and you don't want to just kind of knock out all the big ones right away. So obviously you want to bring in, let's call it our early moneymakers, our Toy Stories and our Frozens, which, let's say, of the most recent 30 years are probably the most iconic characters.
Right.
And then you start sprinkling in the other movies. But I would be surprised if we see normal Mickey in the next year and a half. And if we do see it, it's way, way too early. That they need to save the heavy hitters to keep that interest. Drop hints. Drop other versions, but make sure that the iconic, like we saw in Star Wars, the real Reys and the real Lukes need time to be released. And you can always rework other ones to make them interesting. So there's always ways to improve on them. And as the power creep increases, which every single game has, and if it doesn't, then there's something wrong with the game.
I don't know. I think you could get around power creep. I think power creep is definitely avoidable if you have counters that exist for an incoming character, even if it's a very difficult counter where you really need to plan out a strategy. I mean, what kind of scares me in this game already is looking at a Zerg kind of character. And again, I'm not speaking as an endgame player, so I don't know what it's like when you have a full 7-star team and you're fighting someone with a Zerg and you don't. But look, outside looking in, if somebody has Zerg and you could kill off 2 of my characters in one turn before I've even really gone yet, how do you introduce something after that that isn't completely overshadowing and completely, to your point, power creeping this game like very quickly early on? It just seems like such a difference between him and everybody else.
Yeah, but I think that it's perfectly fine to have 1 or 2 of those characters.
Yeah.
Because that allows you to build, let's take the Incredibles, for example. The Incredibles can counter Zerg because of their team cohesiveness. While that's cool, I like that. So if you have 1 OP character, you can't build an entire team that has some cohesion. You just have a collection of good characters. But the Incredibles, for example, and once again, I've never seen the Incredibles either. So, but I think one of them's named Jack, which is like, no, the one that's the lightning fast kid. Whatever.
Dash. That's Dash.
Dash. Okay.
The,
either way,
Flash Quicksilver of the team.
Exactly. So either way, he can really screw up some people with his attacks, and then you have Mr. Incredible, who kind of acts as a buffer when you start to attack him. Like, that cohesion can stop you from getting killed by Zergs.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that's the way you can have 1 or 2 truly OP characters, but have counter teams to them. Because there never should be at any point in a really good game one team that decimates all.
That makes sense.
There should not be a Darth Malik. There should not be a what's his buddy / enemy's name?
Whose?
Malik.
Oh, Revan?
Revan. There should not be a Revan in this game where I have him, I win.
Correct. There's nothing you can do about it.
No. There should be counters, a balance where, like, okay, I'm running a fast Kingdom team. All right, I lose to an Incredibles team, but that Incredibles team loses to a villain cohesion team, and the fast Kingdom team beats the villains. So kind of
rock, paper, scissors, basically.
Exactly.
I think one of the most exciting characters that this person has to come into the game, which is Beast from Beauty and the Beast.
So I actually thought about this, and I think he will be a late character for one reason. Because I think once they introduce the Beauty and the Beast world, it's going to be a huge event because there's so many characters that you can get out of that, or so many spells, that I think that will be a later, maybe fall at the earliest, because if you're already introducing your heavy hitter, which is Frozen, you want to wait and build up some anticipation for people to spend the money. Because let's be honest, we might be free to play, but we're not the people that keeps this game going. It's the whales pulling out thousands of dollars that allows us to enjoy the freeness of the free-to-play.
Well, I do watch lots of advertisements. I've seen about 300 Marvel Strike Force advertisements, as well as like 1 million for that Star Trek game.
Okay, now how many of those Marvel Strike Force advertisements were ones in this game, or ones that Dennis just told you to watch?
Yeah, and that's the thing. We have wonderful friends that are really into playing these games, are really good at them. What I'm trying to avoid as a free-to-play player, and it's really hard in the PvP arena, is I think this is like the definition of Steve's method of play, which is anger spending.
Yes, that's the best way to put it, anger spending.
Yeah, so it's when you're free to play, or you're trying to be, or even if you're putting like $5 a week into the game, or $5 a month just to get a little bit faster. If you get frustrated, you want to ramp up your gearing, whatever, that's fine too. But when you gotta really rein yourself in when you get that that rage spending, because when you lose, like I did, like 7 times in a row at PvP Arena, it's like, that's it. I got to gear this person right now. I'm going to bring the star person up, and I'm going to go right back and kick this guy's ass.
I was going to say, there's one person we know in particular who would make it his life's mission to ensure that he starts destroying the exact people he lost to.
Oh, Steve. Oh, for sure. Steve was the ultimate rage spender, revenge person. Look, I was tempted to today. I mean, I geared up. I got Sean Yoon up to gear 5, and I finally got enough stars for Big Bad Wolf, BBW, the big beautiful world wolf, up to 5. But I don't have 250,000 coins right now, so I don't have to build that up. So it's hard when you're getting your ass kicked over and over again, and you feel like that one extra star level is going to make a huge difference. And it's hard to remember, no, I'm free to play. I'm going to stick to that. If I'm going to buy something, it's going to be something I can keep. Because look, I spent money in Star Wars Guys and Heroes. I already have a game where I don't play anymore that I've spent money on to earn lines of code. That may not be in existence a year from now.
So Matt, let's put this in context. If I told you your favorite characters were being introduced in the game, let's just say Boo was your most favorite character in any Disney movie. Knowing what you saw in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, would you drop $50 to unlock a Boo earlier and have an advantage for a few months?
No way. And the reason is because one thing that you learn the hard way with these games is, first of all, I've already heard reports like Pete's kit doesn't actually work as written, that there's some issue with an ability he has that would be really good. I got to look at it and digest it a bit. But sometimes you get really into buying or spending so you can get one ability or this one character, but they could change how that ability works tomorrow. And they're not.
Well, we've already seen it with Bucky Soldiers. They took it so that initially it was bugged. Don't get me wrong, but they didn't declare in game that it was bugged. Apparently, they put one line on a Discord server that they were eventually going to fix it. But many people bought Bucket of Soldiers when it was insanely OP, because when it would charge while...
Even now, after the quote-unquote nerf, I have yet to come across a team that runs Bucket of Soldiers that I have earned victory on.
As someone using Bucket of Soldiers, I hope that never changes.
Exactly. So from like my early game perspective, they could change any kit. If there's, because there's two things I like about these games. I like the characters themselves and the spells and the flavor, right? That's what these games are all about. But also, for so many of us, the mechanics, the interactions. That's why I love characters with Merlin's kind of kit, where you're increasing other people's magic levels and getting them to recover their abilities faster, or Madam Mim, where you're spreading out debuffs. It just kind of gets the gears working and you start theory crafting. It's almost a puzzle within a puzzle of a game. It's fun to figure that stuff out. But as you know, there have been times in, say, the Star Wars Galaxy Heroes game where I've done a lot of theory crafting and put in some real-world resources into doing something, only to find out, that doesn't actually interact the way it reads that it interacts. Or, it's a known glitch that this doesn't actually work the way it's supposed to, but we have no plans in fixing it.
Matt, just to clarify, when you speak in the real-world resources, we're talking cash.
Yes, we're talking cash money. Correct. But also time. If you're farming it, even if you're free to play, right? If you're farming a character that takes you 3 weeks to unlock, or if there's an ability a particular aspect of an ability that you need leveled up to begin an interaction, it's not until you unlock that ability and start playing with it where you really find out, does this even work? Does my idea even come together? I like far-fetched, bizarre things. I like making battles almost puzzles within themselves. And I think a lot of people do who like these kinds of strategy games. But as far as I know, there's no demo accounts. There's no
there's no sandbox.
No sandbox, right? So you can't for 5 minutes a day.
Well,
play around with a 7-star server to see what those mechanics look like.
Let's stop on the sandbox, because I think that's a separate video altogether, where we can talk about the pros and cons of introducing a sandbox and the definition on the evolution of the game, because we've seen firsthand what happens when you don't have the sandbox for everyone.
Yeah.
While some people do have the sandbox, and it's moved the game greatly, but I think that we can speculate whether a sandbox for all is a good thing. So I think that's a whole separate video altogether. So what I would say is, why don't we jump in about the newest character we have heard about, but we really don't have full information. So this will be our pre-speculation.
Right. So for our fake news segment for this channel, we have this new incoming character announcement besides the Frozen ones, and that is this bad boy right here. We have Sneezy 2020 coming into this game. I'm excited. Are you excited?
Oh, I'm ecstatic. This is the character for the now.
Correct. First of all, I'd like to point out, let's talk about his passive, okay? And first of all, why is this Sneezy 2020 as opposed to Sneezy, 1937 or whatever the old Snow White came out? I have a guess.
And what is that guess, Matt?
All right. My guess is that given the environment we are in, isolation, quarantine, a COVID world, a Sneezy of 2020 is a lot more dangerous than 1930 Sneezy.
And to that point, I'd also like to point out, notice how he's blocking his sneeze. He is not doing the patented elbow cover.
Well, I don't think that existed in the 30s. But, yeah, he hasn't fully evolved into today's times. So why don't we get right into it? First of all, let's discuss his passive. Now, we have the information of the names of these. We don't have the full kit reveal, unfortunately. So passive is what, Mike? Talk to me.
So we have to assume it is somehow related in a way to his sneezing, and I assume the current environment it's a play on that in some way. Now, whether Disney really wants to get truly controversial or not, I think that's really going to define this.
Yeah, I mean, at least they were a little classy in just calling it deadly disease, not coronavirus or COVID. You know, I think the cloud with the skull face is a little on the nose for deadly disease, but what do we think? There's something he's going to be spreading around, right?
Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Being that it's a gas cloud, maybe it's in line with my online handle that nobody saw coming, and he farts a lot.
Possibly, but that might be a different dwarf. Maybe an X-rated dwarf.
There's a farty dwarf?
I don't know. Maybe it's the 8th dwarf. The dwarf they left behind in the mine to get crushed. There were 8 dwarves originally.
Am I the only one who thinks 2 girls, 1 cup somehow works in a joke here?
It certainly might. Okay, so his basic ability is called Achoo. So it's sneezy. It's 2009. Yeah, it's 2020. There's coronavirus. There's COVID. His basic probably doesn't do any damage on its own, but I'm guessing the Achoo hits a character, and if it hits, that's where the deadly disease starts spreading around.
That would be definitely an interesting thing. It adds on that, and that could be a damage over time type of hit.
Right.
Or it could just slow them altogether.
That's a good point. I think maybe the deadly disease only spreads every turn to adjacent characters. And in fact, that could be a new position in the game. We have adjacent, we have flanking. If you have characters that are considered non-adjacent, I think we could translate that to socially distanced characters. So I don't think that this deadly disease spreads to socially distant or non-adjacent characters. What do you think?
I would say maybe it only spreads to those characters who have interaction. So like Jasmine has interaction with Aladdin. So when she uses her special to give Aladdin some health, he gives her back the deadly disease.
Okay, now does it spread to animals or for animals to humans? Like, can Jasmine?
I assume robots and animals are not going to be impacted by this.
Oh, they're immune. Okay, that makes sense. You know what? I think might be immune as well. I think this guy might be immune. He's got
a shield. Yeah, if the mask is down, he's safe, but it's up, he's not immune.
I got you. Yeah, because he's got the ventilator as well. So I think you're right. Helmet up and helmet closed, Buzz Lightyear might make a difference. He might be a good counter to this character, quite potentially.
I think that's a really good idea, that he's got a stun. So that'll keep him from going. On top of it, he's got the gear to deal with attacking him, and he can go straight up hand-to-hand combat. And he's got that kind of like karate chop rapid-fire action on top of it.
Right. Now, we know in the game there are various environments you can play in. So there's like there's Wonderland, there's Agrabah, there's all these other environments. So I'm wondering does Sneezy get a bonus if he's, say, in the Wuhan environment? Does he get a Wuhan environmental bonus? Does it give him critical chance up or increase his deadly disease potency? Maybe it increases potency of deadly disease if you're located in this province. So speculate for me. What are your thoughts?
Well, I will first start off with there's a special place in hell for that comment.
This is why we have our disclaimer at the beginning.
This disclaimer was not nearly enough leading into that.
Well, if I really wanted to be bad, I would call him Schneezy and not just Sneezy.
Dennis is going to come over one day after one of these videos and is just going to beat you.
Yeah, as long as I'm safe. Ironically, I'm safe from Dennis as long as Common is around because he's not going to visit me. As long as we're socially distancing each other, you know.
So
it's
the second
hard to punch somebody in the nose without being within 6 feet. In fact, speaking of 6 feet, is sneezing as a chew effective only within 6 foot distance?
Well, let's put it this way. When you were a kid, remember doing snot rockets where you try to fire off, you arch back and try to fire off and projectile snot?
So disgusting.
It's incredibly disgusting, but like what 7-year-old at some point didn't think they invented it?
Oh, God, it's so awful. Which Sneezy actually has. His first special is called Green Sticky Projectile.
Yes.
I'm thinking this is something like that. Maybe it sticks to the opponent. It slows them down. Maybe they just get grossed out and start hurling all over their clothes.
When I thought it was, I would think that they are temporarily stunned because they don't expect that to happen in the Disney world. When have you seen in a movie somebody who yells snot rocket and just hauls off and goes, wow, and shoots it? But I would say that probably can only be used by certain characters that are within a certain distance because snot rockets don't go that far.
That's true. But then you get into a kit like Robin's, who can add that target bonus to people to give them a guaranteed critical hit. So maybe there's an interaction between Sneezy and Robin Hood that allows them to extend those projectiles beyond that 6 feet range.
When you said Robin, I was not thinking of Robin Hood for a second.
Oh, you're thinking of somebody else. Okay, I read you. Yeah, Robin Hood, Mike.
Okay. Now that you put it that way, that makes more sense. Or possibly he could combine it with his arrow and shoot it and double hit.
Oh, that could work. Sneezy might also gain bonuses for being in tight and close spaces with people. So on planes.
That makes sense, yeah.
So, but yeah, I think in 2020, this could definitely be one of the strongest. This is definitely one of the most deadly characters in the game. Someone who just sneezes all the time in May 2020. Come on, what?
I think that
really
he might
deadlier than that right now.
He might actually be the first character that Disney loses money on putting into the game, because I think that there'll be a whole bunch of people who will just go, "There's no way in hell I want that character, no matter how OP he may be."
Yeah, and I think maybe Sneezy is called Sneezy 2020 rather than Sneezy the Last Dwarf.
Oh.
all his friends are gone. He was doing the Sneezy, but none of them survived. There's not what's the healthcare like in the woods? All they have is like birds and squirrels in their house.
Well, okay, let's put this to be fair. Dwarfs, not that different than hobbits. I'd assume pretty close to one another. So you've got pretty good healthcare with the hobbits in the Shire. So let's assume that maybe they have to travel a little bit more.
Oh my God, I think we just figured out the origin of the coronavirus. It's the poison apple. You bite it, you get sick, you fall into a coma, maybe to never wake up again. You got this dwarf sneezing around, kills off all the other dwarves, Sneezy the Last Dwarf. I'm telling you, this could be an epic tale.
But here's the
and Saga has been rewritten now.
Here's the question. Because Sleepy sleeps all that much, and he doesn't really interact with the other 6 dwarfs, does he avoid or have any counters when he's introduced to the game versus Sneezy?
I think maybe what happens is the dwarfs of their names and what they do maybe get accentuated with these COVID sneezing being spread around. So maybe Sleepy might become Coma. Who else? What are the dwarves? There's Bashful, which is maybe his name is now just fucking plain embarrassed.
Is there a way to make this rating on this video now? Oh God, please don't watch this. You will be offended.
What are the doors? What are the doors? Here. All right.
Look, there's Doc. There's Dopey.
Oh, Doc. Oh, Doc is a good one. Doc is that. I mean, maybe just keep that. Doc is Doc. Okay. You said Dopey. Dopey could be just dumb fucking idiot. He was Dopey, but now that he's sick, he's real bad. You thought he was just Dopey before?
He's just labeled Mensa said no.
What are the other dwarves? Doc, Dopey.
Happy? Isn't there like a Happy?
Happy? Here, I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah, I'm looking it up too.
7 dwarves. All right, who do we got? We got names. Yeah, motherfucker. Is that your cell?
Yes, it is. It's Mr. T yelling male motherfucker.
Oh, Jesus. It's a lot harder to look up than dwarf names. All right, Grumpy. We have Dopey, Doc. Happy. You're right, there's Happy.
And there's Bashful.
Bashful. Bashful could just be plain embarrassed. Grumpy could. You know what Grumpy is? You know what the best status? You know, people always talk about debuffs, right? You know what the best debuff in the game is? You know what the best status effect to have on an enemy is? Dead. Dead is the best status effect. Grumpy might just be suicidal.
Oh, jeez.
That's an upgraded common name.
You've managed to take like the beloved 7 dwarfs and make them into like the worst versions of anything out there. One's inducing plague. One's suicidal.
Yeah.
One's dumb as a rock.
I think Happy could just be apathetic. Happy's just, it's all right. Just AIGHT. That's Happy now.
Oh, jeez. It's just like a picture of him going, eh.
Yeah, exactly. With the hands. The hands. All right. His last special is called Vaccine. Now, we have 2 ideas about this. The first is maybe he immunizes your allies, because maybe this disease that he spreads around can affect allies if they get hit. Because think about it this way. If he had chews on an enemy, but that enemy comes up and hits one of your allies might have it. Because deadly disease might have a 6 feet thing going on. So if I use these on me and I run up to you and try to stab you with my sword, I might have just stuck you with the coronavirus. No?
So I was thinking of it in a different way, like a strategic way, in the sense of that, let's say the vaccine means you have to give your opponent the vaccine for the deadly disease, but in exchange, you heal one of your teammates to full. So it's kind of like a catch-22, that he can be the greatest healer on both, but you have to give some negative to remove the deadly disease damage. At the same time, you want to heal your entire team.
Oh, interesting. Actually, you know what that is? That's the vaccine that lists all those side effects. Yeah, you can take this vaccine, but it's going to cause explosive diarrhea, anxiety, and depression.
You forgot the greatest thing from any of the commercials that they try to downplay. Anal bleeding.
Anal bleeding, yes. This vaccine, maybe there's a percentage. Maybe you could use the vaccine. There's a percentage chance your character gains a debuff, anal bleeding. If that doesn't do continuous damage, I don't know what does. Oh, wow.
So we've gone from speculative Disney characters to anal bleeding in less than an hour.
Well, look, part of these videos are serious, and you got to have some fun with it. Look, I love a lot. I mean, I don't love all of them, but I love a lot of the channels I've been looking at for this game, DSA. And there's some pretty notorious mobile game viewers and people you can follow that do speculation videos and break down mechanics and so forth. But number one, I don't see anybody having conversations. They're always monologuing, which is fine. Like I can listen to Cubs fan Han monologue. He's a fun, upbeat.
Yeah, but let's put it this way. Like we saw with Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, some of the best videos was Arnold talking with Mobile Gamer or Cubs fan Han or whoever he had on. And it was fun because they speculated. They talked about all the big announcements were the road ahead, okay? But
right.
I don't think Disney's looking to do a road ahead in the same way. They're just kind of like, hey, we're producing awesome stuff. Just wait to see what's next. So I think it's essential that there's videos out there where we just kind of have a little fun on it of speculating and, introduce 2020 characters that no one else will ever think of, let alone want to speak about it.
Yeah, look, honestly, we just started, so we don't have a lot of likes, first of all. So definitely like this video. We don't have a lot of subscribers, so please subscribe. But definitely we don't have a lot of yet or comments, and we want suggestions. We have a few ideas of more characters that could be coming into this game. But we definitely welcome all the people's funny suggestions. And so far we got Sneezy 2020 and Hobo Jafar. So definitely want to keep this magic going for sure.
At the rate we're going, the next character will be a serial killer level.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. Wait.
Get ready for O.J. Simpson, the Disney character.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Disney, look, at the rate Disney is acquiring the rights, I wouldn't be surprised if Disney announces next week, new announcement, Disney acquires the rights to O.J. Simpson. It would be fun doing a Johnny Cochran.
Oh, jeez.
That could be fun. Special ability, no matter what he did, he gets you off. And that's a nice double entendre as well.
I was not going to jump on that, but I was waiting for it, which plays into the getting off joke.
Exactly. All right, Mike, anything else you want to say before we go?
After what we just went through, clearly not.
All right, my friend, I will see you next time.
Have a good one.